When I moved to Portugal, I had no intention of becoming a full-time house sitter. And in fact, if you had have told me I'd be house sitting for 4 years, I would have laughed at you. But sometimes the biggest changes in our lives aren't the ones we plan, they're the detours. And in fact, becoming a full-time house sitter is the best detour I have ever taken. So when in past videos I've talked about things not going to plan and living the life I didn't expect in Portugal, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some of the curveballs and the detours have actually been the best detours and the best thing that could have happened. I certainly never planned on house sitting full time. I certainly didn't plan on rescuing 2 dogs, but for them, that has been a fantastic result. That's the best unplanned event that could ever have happened. So recently, I was looking through some old photos because I was looking for a picture or some video of the Portuguese coastline. And as I scrolled back through the photographs, I realised something. Some of my favourite memories are from house sits that I've had in various locations all along the lovely Portuguese coastline. So these weren't places I deliberately chose. They came from the house sits. Beautiful sunsets in Porto, clifftop walks in Colorege, the lagoon in Óbidos, so many different corners of the Silver Close. Places I may never have visited if a house sitting opportunity hadn't appeared. And that is what I love about house sitting. It just takes you to places you may not have thought of, you may have never heard of. It just drops you into a location, into the almost step into the feet of the homeowners. You know, you don't arrive like a tourist. You know, you shop where the locals shop. You walk the dog in the local park and around the local area. You chat to the neighbours. It's a unique and wonderful experience. You experience what living in that place is actually really like, living, not just visiting. That was one of the reasons, one of the main reasons I started house sitting in the first place. Over the years, I have met some incredible animals. Some I only remember when I look back through old photos, but others, they just leave a lasting impression on your life. And I feel like they just become a part of your story. Some of them are really, truly special. I almost feel like sometimes we're souls meeting up again. So even though that unplanned event turned out well, that got derailed as well. Because somewhere along the way, Terry and Nelson arrived. Not because I suddenly decided I wanted dogs of my own. In fact, it's quite the opposite. One of the things I really enjoyed about house sitting was being able to spend time with animals, but without the long-term responsibility for myself. I needed to get them out, and the original plan was not to keep them for me. I'd had a home for them, but because it took 3 years to get them out, the home I had for them was no longer available. So for a while, I had both dogs. Nelson found himself a forever home. That is a story in itself. And Terry stayed with me. But that single unplanned event changed everything about how I live today. So while it has made life considerably more complicated, giving Terry what he deserves has been something I have never and will ever regret. So yeah, as I said at the beginning of this video, I never intended to do what I did when I came to Portugal, live how I lived, and the things changing and plans not working out is not necessarily a bad thing. And things change, people change, and there's nothing wrong with that. And also, we are not trees. Do not have to stay in one place. We do not have to make a decision, plant our roots and stay. And and talking of change of plans and change of things, the van idea has been shelved for now. So, I mean, I started looking, did my research, decided on a make and model that I wanted. Started looking, a week went by, 2 weeks went by. Before you know it, we was a month in. I mean, it's not the kind of thing you can do quickly. You can't necessarily find the right vehicle and find it and purchase one within a short amount of time. Anyway, so obviously the 5 months then turned into 4 months. And on top of that, I then learned that I'm going to lose the place where I store my belongings. And I just thought, oh, that is one too much of a upheaval. That is just an added thing where I need that, because I'm going to need stuff to work on the van. I'm not carrying that round with me, and just have that convenience of knowing where my stuff is. I can access it anytime. I can get materials and tools and stuff. Not tools, but you know, I'm not going to buy any big tools. People have said I can borrow theirs, but I'm just going to need things, and I need somewhere to put those things and access them when I want them. Long story short, I have shelved the van idea, but next week we'll know if a bit of an alternative is viable. Anyway, we'll see next week. We're going on a little trip. The other thing I forgot to mention about the house sitting and the whole experience of house sitting is, oh my gosh, those of you that have been here for a while will know I've mentioned this, living in all the different houses and properties. And I have had some utterly miserable experiences here in Portugal, particularly in the winter, and have had wonderful ones. So I know for a fact it is not the weather, it is not the country, it is the design and the structure and the insulation and the ventilation, blah-de-blah, of the house, which makes a difference. There's the properties themselves, but then there's the people. I listen to their stories, I ask questions, and I hear they tell me about how they live, why they live the way they live. I also hear the regrets, and there are many. So that has really changed how I feel, my experience of living in all these different properties and what's available, and that's changed big time about my feelings about purchasing a property in Portugal. So that's another reason for change of plans. So, the other thing is, talking of house sitting, if you new to my video, you may not have heard me mention trusted house sitters before, because the last year's house sitting has just been word of mouth. It hasn't been done through them. But my 3 years going around Portugal, staying in these wonderful places, experiencing all these lovely homes and locations, all through trusted house sitters. And they're doing a promotion at the moment. Until the end of July, you can get 30% off your annual membership. So that's nearly 4 months free, isn't it? That's nearly 4 months free membership. So I'll put the link in the description below. As I say, I've been off the platform now for over a year, and they have changed in that they charge you to book and secure a match on top of your annual membership. Some people are not so happy about this. I will join them again eventually. That's another thing. I thought my house sitting days were over, but Terry, now I haven't got troublesome Nelson, Terry is an absolute diamond with pigs, cats. He's not so good with chickens, but I feel we could improve that. He stayed in Airbnbs with me. He stayed in shared Airbnbs where there have been other pets, other dogs, cats in the house, and he is a diamond. So I've also been asked several times to do some house sits, and although I wouldn't travel around and do lots of house sitting like I did before, these have been for a month, and that I would do. So house sitting days may not be over, but if you haven't got started yet and you've been thinking about it, because I know a few of you have told me you are, it's peak holiday season now, so it's a good time to get started. And obviously they have got that 30% discount. So I think that's all for today, just what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, the conversation came up about changes and people not, almost as if it's a failure if you change your plans. I mean, good Lord, we're not trees, as I said. Also, yeah, the 30% discounts, I wanted to talk a bit about housing. Oh yeah, and also my going through my photographs, and I just forgot. It's easy to forget just how many places I've been and stayed and the opportunities I have had through house sitting. Anyway, advert for house sitting over. Subscribe if you want to follow along and keep up with what comes next. Thank you for being here. See you on the next one, hopefully. I'm still here, you thought I'd gone, hadn't you? I just got to say, in my last video, I talked about letting go of stuff and getting rid of stuff, which is not always good. I really miss my kombucha. I got rid of all my bottles and containers and had to throw away my SCOBY. But Andrea over at Project Portugal gave me a SCOBY, so I have kombucha. It's only a small jar, it's not much. And Cindy from Cindy Vine Portugal kindly brought it over. So at least I have some kombucha. I'm really pleased to have it back, because getting rid of things is not necessarily a good thing. Not everything. But anyway, so normally when I make kombucha, I would make a big batch and then I bottle it up and then make another batch. But I understand there's a method, because this is the only glass container I've got, or any container of any sort. There's a method where you can just keep it going, so you take from it and then you just top it up and keep it going. So if anyone's got any knowledge on that, feel free to let me know. But see, letting go of everything is not necessarily good. I'm very happy I've got this, so thank you, Andrea, for the kombucha. Thank you very not for the kombucha, for the SCOBY, so that I can make kombucha. Thank you.